Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for all your support on the Bitcoin video, the comments, the likes, the subs, all those amazing things. They do truly mean the world to me. So today I want to follow that thread. And last time we talked about a problem about trust. And today I want to talk about why that problem is more urgent than most people realize. And there's a story that broke literally in the last 48 hours that makes this argument better than I ever could. I want you to hear what actually happened this week. Now, bear in mind, by the time this video goes out, it will probably be about 10 days down the road. But I think it's one of the most important stories in AI right now, and it's yet barely being talked about. The US government, and get this, legally threatened to seize control of one of the most advanced AI systems in the world. Not through a court and not through new legislation, through an old Korean War era, I believe, emergency law called the Defense Production Act. It was last used during the pandemic to force manufacturers to produce ventilators, which gives the government the power to commandeer private technology in the name of national security. Whether the company agrees to it or not, the Pentagon gave an AI company until Friday, that's tomorrow, as of today, the recording of the video is Thursday, as of tomorrow, to drop their safety guardrails. Allow us to use your AI for anything we decide is lawful, or we terminate your contract, blacklist you as a national security risk, and invoke emergency powers to take your technology out anyway. This is not science fiction. This is literally happening a few days ago, and almost nobody is talking about it. But here's what should seriously concern you. This story is framed as being about military AI. Maybe you think, fine, that's not my world, but the same legal mechanism that lets a government commandeer an AI company's product can compel that company to hand over your conversations. Every question you've asked, every document you've shared, every private thought you've ever typed into an AI chat window. If you're using cloud AI, and almost everyone is, a government doesn't need to hack you. It doesn't need a warrant. It just needs to lean on the company whose service your data lives on. And this week, we saw exactly how that leaning works. That's the scandal. And it points directly to a problem Bitcoin already solved that we haven't solved yet for AI. So what actually happened? Well, let's start with the beginning. The company is called Anthropic. They make an AI model called Claude, one of the most advanced models in the world. And until this week, the only AI cleared for use inside classified Pentagon systems. Last month, it emerged that the US military had used Claude to help plan an operation, one that resulted in the capture of a foreign leader. Anthropic raised concerns about how their technology was being deployed. The Pentagon's response: you don't get to have concerns. You have a $200 million a year contract. Your AI will be used for all lawful purposes. Full stop. Anthropic pushed back. Their CEO held his ground. The company has two firm limits: no fully autonomous weapons, no mass surveillance of civilians. The Pentagon's response: you have until Friday, and that is literally tomorrow. Agree to our terms, or we terminate your contract. Label you as a supply chain risk, a designation usually reserved for Chinese and Russian state-linked companies, and invoke the Defense Production Act to compel your cooperation anyway. The government threatened to legally force a private company to hand over its AI. Whether you think Anthropic's guardrails are right or wrong, that's not the point. The point is, it was possible and it happened. So why was the Pentagon able to do this? Not legally, not politically, but architecturally. Anthropic's AI runs in the cloud, on servers, under US jurisdiction. The company exists as a legal entity that can be compelled, threatened, and coerced. That's not a flaw in their character, of course. It's a consequence of how their system was built. When your AI lives in someone else's infrastructure, you are never the final authority in how it's used. It might look like you're in control. You chose the product. You pay the subscription. You type the questions. But the moment a more powerful actor shows up, the company you trusted has no architectural defense. Anthropic can hold the line on principle, and credit to them. They are for now, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. But they're holding a line made of policy, not architecture. And policy lines can be moved by contract terms, by executives, by legislation, by law from the knees. The other major AI companies, OpenAI, Google, xAI, have already folded. All of them have agreed to allow their tools to be used for any lawful military purpose. No guardrails. Whatever the government decides is lawful, goes. The direction of travel is clear. Cloud AI, every model, is one government demand away from becoming whatever the state needs it to be. And I want to flag something that doesn't get talked about enough. You'll hear governments, even the UK government, talk about building sovereign AI, national compute capacity, AI growth zones, sovereign infrastructure. But read that language carefully. When a government says sovereign AI, it means AI that is sovereign for the state. Data centers they control, models they can access, infrastructure under their jurisdiction. That's not sovereignty for you. That's sovereignty over you. It's a centralized model with a patriotic rebrand. Sovereign AI should mean intelligence that belongs to the individual, that you control, that runs on your hardware, that no government can compel a company to hand over. That's the definition worth fighting for. And right now, governments are working hard to own that term and point it in the opposite direction. Don't let them. So we've seen this problem before in money. Banks were never really the problem. Banks are tools. The deeper problem was that governments could manipulate money itself, print it, debase it, inflate it, and because the entire financial system ran through centralized institutions, there was no escape from that manipulation. It was baked into the architecture. Bitcoin wasn't born in a boardroom. It was born from the wreckage of 2008, the financial crash, the bailouts, the bonuses, executives who drove the system off a cliff and walked away with their salaries intact while ordinary people lost their homes. Not one of them, or maybe one, went to prison. The system absorbed the meltdown, shrugged and carried on. And a small group of people, the cypherpunks, developers, people who'd understood the structural problem for years, built the alternative. Not because a government funded it, not because a corporation believed in it, because they wanted to fix the problem, not maintain the system that caused it. Bitcoin is hard capped. Nobody can print more. Nobody can debase it. Censorship resistant. No government can freeze it. And critically, it separated money from the state for the first time in human history. That's not an incremental improvement. That's an architectural revolution. It didn't come from the top, and that is really important to remember. It couldn't have, because no centralized entity has an incentive to build the alternative to centralized control. The incentives are structurally misaligned, so it had to come from outside the system entirely. It started with almost nobody, a few people on a mailing list, and it grew because the argument was true, not because anyone with power wanted it to succeed. Now look at AI. Every major AI model today sits inside a company, on servers, under jurisdiction, the same structural vulnerability that money had before Bitcoin. Compelled, manipulated, weaponized by whoever holds power over the infrastructure. The Pentagon story isn't an aberration. It's a demonstration of exactly what that looks like in practice. So what does the answer actually look like? Models that run on your device, intelligence that doesn't require connection to a server you don't own, an AI that processes your data locally with no jurisdiction because there's no infrastructure to compel, no company to threaten, no server to seize, no contract to terminate, no defense production act that reaches inside your pocket. And here's what I want to make clear as someone building this space. On-device AI isn't just the ethical choice, it's the better product. Zero latency, instant responses, truly personal. Your AI learns about you, stores context locally, becomes genuinely useful in ways a cloud model that forgets between sessions never can. Truly private, not we promise to protect your data, private but architecturally private, where no data leaves your device in the first place. For most people, for most of what they use AI for every day, the on-device model isn't just sufficient, it's better. And that's why I believe it wins. This is why I'm building Whisper AI, intelligence that runs on your device that you own where there's no intermediary to compel, not as a niche privacy product, as proof that we can have freedom if we build with better architecture. Now, I want to be completely honest about the limits of this. On-device AI solves the cloud compulsion problem, but it doesn't solve everything. If the operating system on your phone is surveilling you, and there are legitimate questions about whether iOS and Android do exactly that, then on-device AI is still running inside a compromised environment. The AI doesn't leak your data, but the OS underneath it might. This is why the sovereign AI movement has to go deeper than any single product, including mine. Open source models you can audit, hardware, the full stack from the silicon up, transparent enough that you don't have to take anyone's word for it. On-device AI is a necessary condition for sovereignty. It's not sufficient on its own. That's why communities like the Nano Collective exist. And we're building open source sovereign AI tools, including Nanocoder, a coding assistant that runs entirely on your machine. It's early, it's small, But that's how Bitcoin started too. No government can build sovereign AI. No cloud company can build sovereign AI. Not because they lack the engineers, but because the whole point of sovereign AI is to remove the control they depend on. Their incentives are architecturally misaligned with the product. Yes, governments are pouring money into centralized AI infrastructure right now, data centers, national compute, AI growth zones. But that is exactly what happened with money. Centralized financial infrastructure was backed by governments for centuries. And then a few people built something the centralized system structurally cannot replicate. Because sovereignty is incompatible with centralized control. Bitcoin is going to beat the global banking system. Not because it's trying to, because hard money beats debased money. Because you can't print more of it, confiscate it, or manipulate it. And eventually, enough people understand those properties matter. Sovereign AI will beat centralized AI for the same reasons. Zero latency, truly personal, truly private, properties the centralized model can never offer, because offering them would mean giving up control. The trajectory is the same, slow, then exponential, and it's already started. So here's where I'll leave it. What happened between the Pentagon and Anthropic this week is a scandal. A government threatened to invoke wartime emergency powers to strip a private company's AI of its protections against mass surveillance. Quietly, this week, while most people were looking elsewhere, that reveals something true about every cloud AI system, that the company you're trusting with your intelligence is always one government demand away from no longer being able to honor that trust. The cypherpunks who built Bitcoin weren't waiting for permission. They saw the structural problem, understood no one inside the system would fix it, and built the alternative from the ground up. That's what's happening in sovereign AI right now. It's early, it's small, but the trajectory is the same. This isn't about technology, it's about who controls the intelligence layer. The Pentagon just showed us exactly what that means, and now you know. So if you've been following the series, you've seen the thread. Cloud AI can never be private by design. Convenience always wins over control, and Bitcoin solved the trust problem in money by changing the architecture entirely. This video is where those threads meet. And if you want to follow this as it unfolds, subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. And the next video goes deeper into what the alternative architecture actually looks like in practice. So for now, guys, stay safe, stay sovereign, and stay free. Take care.